from PRX.
Friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time for the podcaster who's here to keep you company and take your mind off of stuff. We're going to go from Vermont to Chicago by way of dreams, both fictionally, because it's time for, this is an episode of Dreaming in Newhart, a very different TV podcast show. TV podcast show. Those are three words that are not related at all. What are you watching? TV podcast show. Oh, really? What's a TV podcast show? It's something a sleep podcaster says when when he was trying to make a point that he didn't prepare for ahead of time, then he got mixed up. But when he says TV podcast show, he really is showing why he's qualified to make a sleep podcast, because he makes a show called Sleep With Me. Occasionally, he doesn't talk about himself in the third person. He talks about himself as an imaginary, not even an imaginary third-person narrator, but he puts himself in the listener's shoes. Only, imaginarily, but only, not in their shoes, the place where their feet are, where they are. And he says, yeah, that's why I'm qualified to make a sleep podcast, because I'm always barely never making any sense, because I'm here to keep people company in the deep, dark night, because it's not easy to be there, especially when you can't sleep. You need a friend. Some people do. A friendly distraction to help you fall asleep, to take your mind off of stuff and keep you company, to create an environment where you feel like, hey, I could let go and drift off whenever, to take the pressure off at bedtime. And that kind of friend is goofy, silly, rarely gets to the point, doesn't know where he's going. But he's there on a regular basis to be my boyfriend and my boar bud. And if you're new, you're welcome here, and I'm glad you're here. So welcome to Sleep With Me. It's a podcast, like I said, to keep you company and take your mind off of stuff so you could fall asleep. It's very different. And in the intro, I'll kind of explain what it is. The show starts off with this greeting. Then we have some support. Most people prefer to listen to this ad-supported version of the show. Then there's a long, meandering intro meant to ease you into bedtime. And after that, later on in the show, we'll be talking about, we'll be doing this Dreaming of Newhart. And I'm excited because when I start making new stuff, it slowly develops. And this will be... like we did a couple episodes, and now I've gotten a third layer here. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I'm really glad you're here. And the show wouldn't be possible without people that listen to it on a regular basis that benefit from it. And then those people who are able to support it back, either directly or support the sponsors, or with their kind words, which I've gotten a lot of lately. And I really appreciate, because I know not everybody can support the show, but I know how many people benefit from it, and I hope it's benefiting you. Just by being your friend in the deep dark night, being a mild distraction is really what I strive to be. And this is the one place, no, there's a lot of times of mild distractions more important than you would think. Underrated, I guess it can't be underrated if it's mild. I don't know, can it be? I don't know. Canopy? Did you say canopy? Oh, boy. So welcome to Sleep With Me, the podcast that's here to keep you company and put you to sleep. And thanks, everybody, for supporting it and making it possible.
Nah, not quite.
What's up?
Sell my car in Carvana. It's just not quite the right time.
Crazy coincidence. I just sold my car to Carvana.
What? I told you about it 2 days ago.
When you know, you know. You know? I'm even dropping it off at one of those sweet car vending machines and getting paid today.
That's a good deal.
Oh, great deal. Come on. What's your heart saying?
You're right. When you know...
You know.
Sold.
Whether you're looking to sell your car right now or just whenever feels right, go to Carvana.com and sell your car the convenient way. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, everybody, this is Scoots here, and this is a message for people. This is a message about Sleep With Me Plus supporting the show directly. And I want you to imagine, like, all the personal services that you pay for on a regular basis, whether it's getting your hair cut, maybe you get food delivered, maybe you get your nails done, or a massage. You know, there's so many people that provide services that are valuable parts of our lives, right? And I just wonder where Sleep With Me falls in those personal services that make your life better. And if you say, yes, Sleep With Me is pretty high, and I probably get $300 worth of value out of Sleep With Me every month. I listen 5 nights a week. It helps me go to sleep so I can work, so I can be a member of my family, so I can get up on time, and so I can feel good about my life. I'm just wondering, like, what would you tip on that? If Sleep With Me actually brings you $300 of value or whatever it is, would you tip Sleep With Me 5% a month? Would you tip me 20%? Because Sleep With Me is free, and the way it stays free, the way we're able to produce the show, are the people who are willing to pay for the podcast as if it was a service because they know how much work it takes, because they value the show, because it makes their life better. Please support the show. Think about how much it's worth really to you, depending how much does Sleep With Me improve your life. If it was a paid service, how much would you pay for Sleep With Me? If it has a positive impact, like the good feeling you have when your nails are done, when your hair's cut, when you get home from from going out and the babysitter's put your kids to bed and fed them, when someone delivers your food with a smile, when someone asks if your drink wants a refill, those are services that make your life better, and those are worth money to me. And if Sleep With Me service is worth money to you, the way we keep making it, the way it's going to be possible to keep making it in 2025 is you and listeners like you just taking that action, saying, holy cow, yeah, it is worth $14 a month to me. That's about a good tip for Scoots. Or yeah, I'll support it with an annual subscription of what if you support the show with an annual subscription based on what you get out of 1 month of value of Sleep With Me, you could support it for the whole year just based on 1 month worth of value you get out of Sleep With Me. If you say, you better believe I get $245 of value out of the show every single month, that's the top tier supporting the show. It makes a gigantic difference, and it's critical to the future of Sleep With Me. Kind of the action you choose to take right now, if you're agreeing with what I'm saying, if you can afford it, and Sleep With Me is a service that is a part of your life like those other services, your action or inaction is critical to the future of Sleep With Me. Those people that'll set an alarm or go to sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus right now and support the show, you're supporting the show into the future, into next year. And those of you that wait, it's kind of putting it's like, well, I don't know. You're kind of putting the show in a, well, I don't know situation, like saying, well, I don't know about supporting the show. I'd love to have your support because I love making the show. I love having a positive impact on your life and the lives of people who can't support the podcast. There's a lot of people who are listening who just can't support the show, who love it. And that's kind of the difference between Sleep With Me and other personal services. Most of those are pay first, right? You either pay or you get the service, you either pay for the service or you don't. But with the podcast, paying for it's optional. And that's powerful. That's powerful when you support the show directly. But it's also stepping out of your comfort zone. It's doing something different. It's takes some, there's some resistance to it. And I don't just mean with you. It's a natural resistance. And particularly with a bedtime podcast, it's really hard to convince people, even when they agree with everything I've said so far, to take that action. So if you agree with it, don't wait. Just say, hey, Scoots, here's a tip. You do make my life better. You do deliver my lulls with a smile. I do feel better, almost as good as when I get a really good haircut or hairdo or whatever you call it nowadays. It is like a massage. So you can do that at sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. I'll appreciate it, and so will a bunch of other people. Thanks so much. Oh, Mystery Bart, a lot of people help out in this show. Who are they?
Chris Posty Poster Song sounds like an earful. Wrote the theme song. Carl W. the Legend. Also edits episodes. Ashley, Kenny, Scotty, Jennifer. Eric and the team at Astound are on the website. I am the Mystery Bard. I do the lullabies, yeah. I do commissions at JonathanMann.net. I'll write a song for you. Any reason at all. You can tell me the story and I'll make it personal. You see the kindness shine straight on through when the listeners form their own Facebook group. Keith, Stacy, Sarah, Julie, and Jennifer. These are your moderators. Get support dear Scooter on Patreon. Buy the merch and support the sponsors. You can find anything you want at sleepwithmepodcast.com. And so proud that we could dance. Rusty Biscuit, Lois, Anna like banana. Leah does the transcript.
Thanks, Mystery Bard. If you want to be a rebel, if you believe in Sleep With Me, think about, and you can afford to support the show, sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. Thanks, everybody. Hey, are you up all night tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep? Well, welcome. This is Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do it with a bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'm going to do the rest. What I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place where you could set aside whatever's keeping you awake, whether that's thoughts, things on your mind, thoughts about the past, the present, the future, thoughts you're thinking about, thinking thoughts. It could be feelings, anything coming up for you emotionally related to those thoughts or feelings that are just there. It could be physical sensations. It could be changes in time, temperature, routine. You could be going through something. You could be getting over something. You could be preparing for something, returning from something. Whatever it is, I'm here to keep you company and take your mind off of stuff. So ideally, you could fall asleep or at least have some comfort in the deep, dark night. And the only reason I list some of that stuff and talk about it at the beginning of the show is so you get a sense that you're not alone, that there is this community, that even if you're new, even if you never listen to this show again, this is one of these few things. You're already a part of it, and an important part of it. If you're listening to that, and it's true, I'm not just saying this. I use a lot of filler words. This is not filler words. You're a part of something. And you're a part of something that's important, or it's important to me, and it's important to a lot of other listeners, and maybe it'll become important to you if you're new. But you may be already perking up and say, yeah, it is important. And what's important? I'll try to not say that word, but I don't know. I just got my feet under me. I mean, that's why I welcome people at the start of the show, because I know how it feels not being able to get to sleep, stay asleep, or get back to sleep. I know what it's like to feel dread on Friday about falling asleep on Sunday night, or lately dread every night about falling asleep, or dread when I wake up in the middle of the night. And I know how that feels even when I'm in a house with people, even when I'm sharing a room. Like recently, I've been sharing a room. I shared a room with different siblings. My daughter's in the other room. Sometimes Co's in the same room as me and my dog. But it still feels lonely to me. And not the kind of loneliness like out on a kayak on a lake, like at the sunrise or full moon. I don't know. I guess that's not like, that's like a different, or not the kind of harmonica level loneliness either. I mean, sometimes it feels that way, but other times it feels a little slightly different than that. But I don't know. I know what it's like, and that's why I call it the deep, dark night. And maybe it doesn't feel the same way for you as it does for me, but I think what we share, what you're a part of, is that we can relate to how we feel. And I can probably relate. I say, well, no, I haven't gone through that, but I think I understand how you feel, or at least get a sense of it. And that's the mild thing you're a part of. That's why I'm here to be mildly amusing. But it is this magical thing I've learned making the show for almost 11 years, coming up on 12 calendar years of making this podcast, that we share something important in the deep, dark night. And that doesn't mean you don't share it if you're not a regular listener. And it's that sense of like... the sense that it really stinks, and that maybe other people that sleep good can't relate to it. I don't know. This is really the only place, and the only reason I'm talking about it is because it's important. And it's also something here you could feel good about, because the thing is, you're not alone anymore. And you might say, well, this is just a podcast. You're just talking. And I say, you're right about that, but if you really take a second And if you become a regular listener or you are a regular listener, you've been here before, and you really get a sense of how it feels sometimes for you at bedtime and that you want some relief, that you deserve some relief. You deserve a bedtime where you don't have to have rigmarole or dread, a bedtime you could at least feel neutral about, even look forward to, the rest you need so your life is more manageable. If you get a sense of how that feels, that is important, and you do deserve that, and sometimes you don't, that's not what you get, or it's not achievable or whatever, that it's like there's this whole process behind it that doesn't always feel good, that there's other people listening right now that have felt that way or are feeling that way now, and there's enough people listening around the world that there's someone listening that knows really how you feel. It might not be me. You might say, no, you can't relate. But I know there's someone listening out there that can relate to how you feel and how I feel. And they are perking up right now. They're holding a space for you, and that is real because I've heard from these people. I hear from you all the time, and that's what you're a part of. Like someone's holding the space for you, and then one day you might be the listener that's holding the space for somebody new or a regular listener going through a really tough time. And right, that might not amount to a lot to other people out there in the world, or it might not have substance that you'd say, well, that's not concrete at all. It's just an, and I'd say, no, it's more than an idea. I'm pretty sure about that. I'm pretty sure it's something special that we share. And what's special about it is just that slight softening that we can have in our shoulders or our hearts or our insides, and just a little bit more space to relax or breathe. Or say, thank goodness, I've just been so tired and fed up with this. I'm glad to know I'm not the only one, and that someone else really understands how I feel. So that's why I make the show. I haven't gone that deep, but I've been thinking a lot about it lately. Maybe it's coming up on anniversaries of the podcast, or trying to figure out how can we consistently keep making this show. Or maybe it's what's going on, like that I'm going through some personal stuff too. But I think maybe it's all of those things, right? But I just want to point that out, that you are a part of something special. Even if you never listen to the show again, maybe you could check out sleepwithmepodcast.com/no thank you. And you discover another sleep podcast or sleepy audio that works. Because it doesn't change the fact that we share something. Even if you don't want to share it, because I'm not much into sharing or being a part of normally. It's a struggle for me. So there's that. What I'll do here is I'm going to send my voice across the deep, dark night. I'm going to use lulling, soothing, creaky, dulcet tones, pointless meanders, and superfluous tangents. I'm going to go off topic. I'm going to get mixed up. I'm going to forget what I was talking about. I'm going to double back. I'm going to reverse. All that is the sense of the show, that the podcast is a mild entertainment, that it's a mild distraction, that it's lightly humorous or barely humorous. Right now, it's not super humorous, but we can laugh anyway. And I'll probably go off topic and get mixed up, and then we'll be able to have another laugh about it. But it's this is a podcast you just barely listen to, kind of like background noise, or a friend you could call and you'd say, hey, just talk to me about nothing for an hour. And I'm going to just I don't want you to not talk about anything either, though. Talk about something that's barely entertaining to me. Tell me about your stamp. No offense, but because I know it's probably interesting stuff about stamp collections, but tell me about your stamp collection. Oh, yeah, I have a collection of, I used to have a collection of stamping feet. I've got a bunch of recordings of stamps, yeah. I do have some of our stomps, but I have stamps and stomps, pitter-patters. I know Scoots listens to recorded knocks. What was my point? I lost my point. Oh, it's a podcast you barely listen to. Also, most people who get here, they're skeptical or doubtful or frustrated or irritated or fed up. Like maybe you search for this podcast. maybe somebody told you about it, or you read about it, or you heard about it somewhere else, and you came here and you're like, this is not what I expected. This is not, doesn't seem sleepy to me. Give it a few tries. That's all I can say. I mean, this podcast, this one you probably listen to is free out there in the world. So just try it a few times and see how it goes. And you got nothing to lose. We have a website set up, sleepwithmepodcast.com/no thank you, that has other sleep podcasts and sleepy audio on there. So then you can try that out. Or if you already loathe me, check that out. But yeah, just see how it goes, right? You got nothing to lose, but just take some time to get used to, because this show is just like your friend in the deep dark night. And actually, this is a podcast, like a sleep podcast that isn't here to put you to sleep. I'm here to keep you company while you fall asleep. There is no pressure to fall asleep with this show. There's not even an expectation to fall asleep. Like, I'm here to be your boyfriend and keep you company while you drift off, to take your mind off of stuff, to be your bore bae, your bore sib, your bore bud, your bore bestie, your neighbor, your bore bee, your bores, your bore friend, your bore bestie forever, your bore bud, your friend in the deep dark night who keeps you company to the very end, whether you're awake or asleep, whether you're listening or not. Because there's people who are listening who can't sleep at all, or who need a break during the day. And I'm here to the very end, whether you're listening or not, whether you're awake or not. And I don't know. It's just it's something it takes a little getting used to. It's a sleep podcast. I don't listen to it, but it doesn't put me to sleep. That's about right. And it gets on. It could make me skeptical or irritable. It could at first. So just see how it goes. The structure of the show also throws people off. And we've made a lot of adjustments to the show as far as we can, but this is the version you're listening to right now that most people benefit from. And based on kind of 11 years of experiments and testing and listener feedback. So give this one a try first, and then you can adjust from there after 3 or 4 times, or maybe you just start falling asleep to this version of the show. But the show starts off with a greeting. Friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, so you feel seen and welcomed in. And you say, okay, I could check that show out. It does seem lighthearted. It's barely lighthearted, even though he kind of got heavy there. But I get it. Every once in a while, he's got to get heavy. And I'd say, yeah, in order, that much, like helium. You ever try to carry around a tank of helium? Does anybody do helium-based stand-up? I mean, that's like a half a joke. That's what this show specializes in. It's that's like the comedian says, am I right? Anybody here carrying around a tank of helium or a tank of helium? Thing's heavy. I worked in a, so what is it? They said, okay, buddy, but I mean, I guess I'm wondering, it's starting to make less, because how many balloons can you fill from a tank of helium? How come that doesn't work? I'm not kidding. I mean, I guess maybe it's something with the expansion of gas that makes it lighter than air. But, I mean, that shows my limitations. I have a limited level of, I'm reasonably good at doing this and creative. But yeah, when it comes to that kind of stuff, I'd say I'm pretty sure it's on the. I'm almost positive it's on the periodic table. So it's an element. But I don't know. There's probably somebody, because I just saw Pete Holmes was doing comedy about Q-tips, and it was very funny. And that, so there are, and that it was like very relatable humor. If you want to look it up, you'll be able to find it. But it makes me think, does anybody do any comedy about helium tanks? I say, yeah, one joke in 1972. It's really, so I say, what's up with these helium tanks? They're so heavy. I mean, I guess that could be like, if it was like, Stephen Wright probably did, but it would had multiple layers. It's just me standing in the balloon, like the 99-cent store, trying to lift the tank. I mean, like, would you believe it? Maybe I should just do that. Maybe I guess I couldn't get any dates that way, but That would filter, like maybe that's my first date from now on. So, well, I got to make a stop. And then I do that. And then if they find it funny, I guess that won't work. I mean, it doesn't, the only place it works is in the start of a sleep pod. Oh, structure the show throws people off. And these quarter jokes. His helium tank's empty. I'd say, you're right about that. It'd probably be lighter. I mean, talk about irony. There you go. We're on the Stephen Wright path. They say, isn't it funny? Like, the tank's lighter now. I mean, you're barely laughing along with me because it's just funny because it's like, it's not humorous. It's just like, right? It's like, am I right? Life is confusing. Wait a second. You're telling me this helium tank weighs 180 pounds full of helium. But if I fill 8,000 balloons with it, that'll float away. Then this thing weighs 14 pounds? Can you see, this is where you say, can I get a refund? A refund for what? For my existence. It's no wonder I wake up with malaise every day. Okay, so structure the show, though. The greeting is so you feel seen and welcomed in. Then there's support. Then there's sponsor support, which is always direct response, meaning the sponsors are based on the listeners that support them. And that's just what most people prefer, this free version of the show. If you want an ad-free version, you can get it by supporting the podcast. But most people prefer this version. Then there's a long, meandering intro. It is separate from the support. And it's about, I mean, you've seen it. I was pointing out how heavy it got, and then we found a tank of helium. All of a sudden, everything's lighter. I mean, who would have known? It would have been even the tank of helium. But the tank of helium's only lighter because it got rid of the helium. I mean, are you with me this far? But the podcast got lighter as we talked about the tank of helium getting lighter. So I'm out of helium, but the tank is lighter. Come on. I do need, actually, they said, what do you need, a PhD to figure this out? I think I do, because I just still don't understand. Helium tank, a tank full of helium, 180 pounds in my imagination. Tank without helium, 15 pounds. I mean, come on, I do need a PhD. But perfect, but I don't need one to go off topic about it. So the long meandering intro, if you after you listen a few times, you say, I don't like these intros or whatever, check out Bedtime Stories from Sleep With Me. Also, it's available in podcast apps for free. That just has the greeting and the bedtime stories. But the reason the intro is 20 minutes long is just so we could get to know each other. The intro follows a familiar structure. It's a show within a show, but it's different every time. I mean, I don't know. Have I done this bit? I mean, it is a bit at this point, but I stumble upon bits here. So I don't know. So the intro is meant to ease you into bedtime. So most people listen to the intro as they're getting ready for bed, winding down, doing a chill activity, or in bed getting comfortable. So it doesn't put a lot of people to sleep. It eases you into bedtime. And that's just been what's been shown to work. And part of why my sleep has not been great is I haven't been practicing my full bedtime routine. And I think having a bedtime routine is one of those things that works for me most of the time, not all of the time. And that's why I built it into the podcast. And we get to talk about goofy stuff eventually. So there's that. And then the intro goes on and on and on to ease you into bedtime. Then after the intro support, then we'll have Dreaming in Newhart with, I think, a new segment now, which is, I'll describe the concept on the episode. And I think that's it. That's everything. I'm really glad you're here. I really appreciate you checking the show out or coming back, you regular listeners. I'm really glad you're here, and I really hope this podcast can help you or continues to help you, to keep you company, because what I said earlier really does matter. You really are a part of something here, and it is something important, and yeah, so I'm glad you're here, and thanks again for coming by. I work really hard on the show. A team of people work really hard on this show. And the sponsors and the people that support the show directly are what make it possible. So thanks so much. Sleep With Me podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can find options that fit your budget and potentially lower your bills. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states. All right, hey, everybody, this is Dreaming of Newhart. It's a different TV recap show. Tonight we're trying out a third segment to this one, and we'll see if that continues on Sleep With Me Plus, or we'll see how it affects the extra time on the show. But this is a little TV recap show based on the TV show Newhart, and the idea that the whole show was a dream had by its main character, Bob, from the Bob Newhart Show, was having a dream. The whole show, the Newhart Show, perfectly confusing even for a sleep podcast. So it's a TV recap show. Now it's going to be a double kind of TV recap show, as if the Bob from the Bob Newhart Show is dreaming of new Dick Loudon in Vermont. So really sleepy stuff. So we're going to go, when we're listening into Bob and the person Bob's working with, who also does have an AI assistant for dream analysis. And I guess I'll go through, there'll be 3 segments on this episode. They'll be seamless. I'm recording them all now. So take it away. All right, Bob, come on in and sit down. Let's get to your dream last night, or your dreams from the past that you've collected. I still find this breathtaking working together. And I was thinking tonight we could talk about your dreams, then we could talk about your week, and then we could talk about what myself and, we could go through. Like, I'm going to have my assistant interpret your dreams before we hear about your week. And then we'll hear about your week, and we'll talk about my assistant's interpretations of your dreams. How's that sound? Great. So, yeah, my dream, I still had the same recurring dream of Vermont in the inn and going there. I also had dream deja vu, and so there's people in this dream that I know I've dreamt before, but I don't remember dreaming them before. But they were familiar to me in the dreams. I mean, maybe I was dreaming of having dreaming deja vu, but I'm not sure. I just get the sense that I really know these people from the dream, even though they haven't been in any of my dreams, even that we've discussed. I mean, my dream wife is still in there. And other people, but there's new people in my dream. Okay, go ahead, Bob. Okay, so one of the people in my dream is Stephanie. So she works at the inn. She wasn't new to the inn, but now we serve food in the inn. And in the dream, she's delivering food, I think breakfast to guests, but she's doing it in she's not very good at her job, and she's trying to hide her face. So she's short with the guests, and she's backing into them. And in the dream, I say, what's going on here? And she says, I can't sleep, so I'm worried about how I look. I'm very, very concerned. In the dream, she's very consumed about how she looks. And she says, George was hammering all last night. And then George says, no, I wasn't. And she says, there was some hammering going on last night. And it's made me self-conscious of my looks. Okay. Then there's like 2 well-dressed guests who say, there's someone knocking on our door last night, and it kept us up. And Stephanie starts quoting autumnal films. She starts to allude to the fact that this hammering and the door knocking are related, with a quote from a film about Carrie Ann going toward the light. You know that movie Carrie Ann Goes to the Light? I'm familiar with that, yeah. A little bit. And then there's another dream I'm, whatever part of a dream. My wife and I come back from dinner, my dream wife. If it's not my dream wife, I'll tell you. And Stephanie's there. And she's like, I don't know, something off because it's late at night. And she says, I heard more noises. And then Safety Officer Shipman is there. And he's quoting movies. They're all quoting movies. This time Dustbusters, the movie Dustbusters. And then George comes in. He's been procrastinating about that. And then everyone's giving Officer Shipman a hard time. But I keep telling everybody, there's a rational explanation for all this. Don't worry, trust me. And George talks about the hammering. Well, there wasn't a shutter that was loose. And everybody says, oh boy, let's speculate on what's making all this noise. And then somebody even says, Scooby, Scooby-Doo. And I said, no, this is a rational explanation. And then someone talks about the basics of real estate questions. I don't know. And then other people start to speculate, well, what if the woman who's best friends with the basement is doing all this? And I was like, I don't know about any of this. Then there's another guest. They leave. They say, we heard things in our closets. And I say, like, best friends playing games? And they say, I don't know. And I said, okay. And then one of our doors closes, like as a breeze shut it, and the guests leave. Then another part of the same dream or another fragment was like that we meet the old, because I was like, well, let me just call the old owners of the inn and find out if this is related or if they've heard of this. Now, they had lost money when they ran the inn. So they come and they say, oh, by the way, they come to my study and they say, oh, this was an office before. This was our, my workshop. And he said it was like kind of like, this was before Build-A-Bear was a thing, but he would build stuff he would make stuffed animals for friends and plushes. And I say, well, there's got to be a rational explanation. And they say, no, it's a woman who's best friends with the basement. She plays games with them and they go out and play. And again, you're going to have to deal with her. And actually, we don't believe we believe that she is possessive of the basement so that you're used to the basement. She doesn't like it. So she's doing surprises for you and your guests. Because she wants everybody to leave the house to keep her relationship with the basement safe. And the woman's name's Gloria. She says, yeah, I got to get out of here. I'm not even comfortable being here. And the guy says, you know what? So this does seem like you're in an episode of Scooby-Doo. And I say, yeah, I take more convincing than that. I mean, I may have been raised watching cartoons, but I don't believe life is a cartoon. Then some of my books fly off the shelf, just like in a cartoon to punctuate the point of like in an ironic way or something. Okay, then I'm in bed and then my wife hears a noise. So we go downstairs and all our furniture's been rearranged. And other guests leave. They say, that's too weird. Why is somebody like turning your furniture upside down? So then I think it's a mistake. Then Larry, Daryl, and Daryl show up. They have been in my other dreams before. And they start quoting the same Dustbusters movie. They say, I ain't afraid of no dust. And they say, we can help. And they say, we even have this thing from a tourist shop, like one of those spoons. And they say, if you wave the spoon around, it'll bring you good luck. Then someone named Michael shows up. Again, he's familiar to me. He does like imitations from autumnal films. He's doing Rod Serling. He's actually pretty good at it. And I feel like people, like there's laughter unrelated to the dream, but within the dream. And he's dating Stephanie, and she says, he'll be honest with me if I should be concerned with how I look. And he says, oh, boy, you should be. Also, he talks in a way, it's kind of like puns and movie quotes or something. I'm not sure. Not jargon, but he's tough to follow. And I tell him there's no such thing as this stuff. The woman who's best friends with the basement, she just wants to be best friends with the basement. And then my wife and I try to go to bed. She wants to sleep with the lights on. And we're having disagreements. I go down to get some warm milk. Or maybe I don't remember. But then I hear creaking. Oh, I forgot, though. Before that, maybe this is a different dream. There was like Larry, Daryl, and Daryl go downstairs to just talk to the woman in the basement, but they come back up, and one of the Daryls is not there. They say the last time he did this, he was looking at buying Ferraris. Then my typewriter starts typing itself. Can't find Daryl. Then we call Shipman to check it out. That's when we find out, yeah, Daryl does this kind of stuff all the time, though. Then everybody's like, and I say, don't worry, everybody stay calm. We'll figure this out. Okay, then there's like, it's nighttime. My wife and I are in my bed. Then Stephanie and Michael knock on the door. They want to stay in our room, in our bed with us, but not any kind of, just for comfort. I mean, not for even comfort. They like a sleepover, an innocent sleepover, like friends, like a camping trip, I guess. But not like a camping trip, you know what I mean? Like, and then the door knock, they get in bed. Then Michael's like sleeping under the bed because he says that's where, mist-based beings come from and dust-based beings. Then George wants to sleep there, which is, I say, okay, wait a second, what? And he wants to sleep in our bed. And I'm like, man, oh my. And then everybody's like, then we hear a noise coming from our closet, right? And everybody's bent about it. And even like Stephanie goes, Michael, check it out. And he goes, I'd prefer to wait outside. So I'm like, this is ridiculous. I'll check the closets. I open the closet door and Daryl's in there. The one that looks like a Marx brother. The Daryl that looks like a Marx brother. So one of the Daryls looks like a Marx brother. I think I told you that. I don't know, by the way, I don't know the names of the Marx brothers. So not Groucho, but I don't know. And he's in there. He looks like an adult, like a 35-year-old version, maybe. I don't know. I mean, 28 to 40. But I don't know why I'm stuck on that. But he's in the closet. We bring him out. Also, the Daryls don't talk. This is like Larry, Daryl, and Daryl. The two Daryls don't speak, so he doesn't speak. We say, what were you doing in there? He's got this kind of like goofy grin on his face. But then there's this whole thing because they call Officer Shipman to come over. Because, what are you doing, dude? What are you doing in there? You can't be in our bedroom closet, obviously. And he gets blamed for the prank, like that he was trying to prank us all. And again, this is like very, people like Scooby-Doo. And then his brother says, no, he's innocent. He had nothing to do with it. But I was thinking, like, this is a rational explanation, so he probably did. And we go back and forth, but they say, no, like he somehow he communicates with his brother through body language. His brother goes, he did not do this. But I feel really self-satisfied, but then the lights go out, right? And then suddenly the woman from the basement is there. So we think. Spoiler, it's a dream, right? And she says, no, I want to be, like, you shouldn't be in this house. Like, the basement is my best friend. And I'm best friends with the basement, but the house is on top of the basement, and we want to be able to play in the house and not have any of you people in our way. So it's time for you all to leave the house. And first of all, I mean, I said, well, I guess she is interrupting our way of life. I thought we had an agreement, but apparently we don't. And, you know, for me, it might be fine, but for guests of our inn, it's not going to be cool, like having a spiritual being who's best friends with your basement. People aren't going to like that, right? Like, whatever. It's not going to get us in a... Well, I guess I didn't realize it could be a positive thing. But she was very stern. But Stephanie jumps up because she says, I'm so sick and tired of not being able to get the sleep I need to be at my best. And she runs up and says, goes to give Sarah, that's the woman who is best friends with the basement, she's going to give her a very stern talking to. But when she goes, she realizes that it's a real human being. She detects their warmth. I don't know how. And she actually turns a light on, and we see that it's Gloria, one of the former owners of the inn. But oh boy, was Stephanie upset. And then Gloria says, come on out, Ned. That's the other owner of the inn, the dude that makes stuff like plush animals. And he says, hi, everybody. And then everybody says, Daryl's innocent. It's these two. And they say, yeah, we were jealous of your inn. Also, we had a new idea for the inn, which was to do Scooby-Doo reenactments. And like to have, like we never were able to follow through when we owned the inn. But now that you own the inn, we realized we should have followed through on our dream, which was to have an inn, and instead of having mystery dinner, to have each, have each week or whatever, 4 nights at the inn be themed to an episode of Scooby-Doo, and to do Scooby-Doo reenactments. So that's what we decided to do here. And they said, I don't know. I said, is this a real episode of Scooby-Doo? Then everybody was saying Scooby-Doo. And I said, by the way, that's only one generation of Scooby-Doo theme song. 2, this is our inn. And so the safety officer says, yeah, you can't conduct cosplay or reenactments of things in somebody else's inn, especially when they don't know about it ahead of time. And they say, well, we wanted you to leave. We actually, yeah, because then the officer Shimon says, you were using Scooby-Doo in a way of antagonism. And he's not happy. He says, for the love of Shaggy, Scooby, I'm feeling scrappy, man. In the name of Fred, Wilma, and Daphne, Scooby, Scrappy, and Shaggy, I'm going to have to, we're going to have to write you up because that's not cool. And so that's, I don't know, I think that was like how the dream ended. It might have been one more thing funny, but I can't remember it now. Okay, well, my assistant was noting some of those major moments from your dream. So that's good. Now, did you keep a journal of your week? You did? Okay, good. Yeah, so this is a little bit uncomfortable because since we're in the same, I know you're I actually am a fictional, a mental health, even though I'm a fictional being. In my life, I'm a real mental health professional, right? I know you're a fictional one, even though we're working together. So I just want to take a second to establish some professional, to put some boundaries on this, if that's okay. It's your time, Bob. Okay, I don't want any professional advice from you as one professional to another. Even if because there are going to be ways I do things much differently than you, even though you're fictional, right? So I don't want to have any professional advice. I don't want you, this is about me as a person who has a professional life, but my professional life shouldn't, I don't know, are you able to set that aside? For the most part, Bob. I mean, obviously there's some places where I would tell you after you told me that I would, it depends. I can say I'll do my best, but I can't say 100%. Oh, no, I get that. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm just saying, when you hear some of this stuff, you're going to probably judge me mildly or more than mildly. Judge me as a person, right? Don't say, I mean, you know what I mean? I think I know what you mean, Bob. So, yeah, I don't want any professional advice, even if it's not even like, even if it's one professional to another, because this also involves, wasn't my best week. Let's just say that, okay? Well, that's good. That's like, it's going to impact your dreams either way. Okay, so I run a lot of group working together things. And so there's this week, it just, for some reason, it sticks out to me. The first thing I remember about this week, even though I was trying to piece together why, is that, so we had our group end, or one of my groups end. And this one client, he says he was trying to be more assertive versus feeling like people don't respect his boundaries. And I felt like he made some big strides, but then some of the other members of the group were kind of treating him in a way, a passive way. And he's like, well, I got to go please them because I need a ride home. And maybe standing up for myself was a big mistake. So that was there. Then my assistant, Carol, starts to tell me she's not happy and that she's down. And now, again, like I realize, there's I say, well, let's go in the office and talk about it. And I guess for me, I just blur those boundaries. I say, well, I'm going to listen to you. I'm a professional listening to you. So I don't know, but I guess it's just because I just don't want to be judged. That's why I say that. But I say, yeah, let's go in my office and talk about it. We have some time. And she starts to tell me that she has she's dissatisfied with her career, with the direction of things. She's on a birthday milestone. She's 29. So she's feeling that. She's feeling like she's not important. Everyone is going forward, but not her, or everybody's respected, but not her. And I guess, I'll just be honest, my needs became more important than her needs, very quickly. Even, I guess, now that I'm talking about it, even though it's not apparent here, it is apparent here because a parent, not a parent, because I guess if I was in a bit better spot, I would have been listening to her and addressing some of her things. But instead, I was just listening. But I was already starting to be concerned about what I was going to lose. Because then she talks about how she wants more money and a career that's fulfilling to her financially and emotionally and professionally, and definitely financially. But I'm also confused because this is a surprise coming. I didn't see this coming. And even part of me was doubt, have I not been paying attention? Or is this coming out of nowhere? Or is it just related to the birthday? And then I said, well, when did all this come up? She says, well, I had lunch with your wife. Now, this is my real life wife, Emily. And after talking to her, she basically told me to quit my job. And I said, my wife told you to quit your job, work for me. And I say, well, you got to be kidding me. This is so then I go home. Basically, my wife's grading papers. I say, can I talk to you about something? Well, I'll fix us some drinks. But, and she says, you can talk to me while I'm grading papers. And I was like, well, it's kind of important. I said, did you tell Carol to quit her job? And my wife kind of goes back and forth first with her body language. She said, no. And then she discusses it. And then she does, because she says, you have some pretty old-fashioned ideas about the workplace, Bob. And I said, no, I don't. And so she's challenging my workplace values. I wasn't really feeling, I guess this is another growth opportunity, because at the time I wasn't even feeling like she was, I was a bit dismissive, didn't even feel confrontational. And she talks about like some workplace best practices. Again, maybe this is why I want to just limit it. I don't want your advice either. Then our conversation is interrupted, and I guess in a sense by like a worse example, which is my neighbor Howard and a coworker who were also like had an non-professional entanglement, appropriate, but, you know, whatever. And they say, yeah, we're just going to go hang for a little while. And then my wife talks to Michelle, who's with Howard, and says, hey, are you happy with your job? And she says, well, basically, I'm a sky waitress, but I don't really think about it that much. And then we kind of see that also Howard has the same kind of misconception that I have, but I'm seeing it through Howard's eyes. And I say, Howard, you really got some misconceptions about the workplace. But then my wife says, well, if you really think about it, are you happy at your job? And she says, if I really think about it, no. And then they leave because they get called back into work. And I tell them I'm really upset with my wife. And so then the next day, this really doesn't look good for me. Like, as far as, like, I'm just I'm a manipulative person, I guess I'll just tell you. Because I asked Carol to join the group, and I say, hey, Carol, you want to join the group today? And she says, yeah. And I say, hey, everybody, Carol's joining the group today. She's having a tough time. And they say, what's going on? She goes, I'm not happy at work or with my employer, my boss. And then through the group, I'll just say that I do try to manipulate Carol. The group recognizes it and calls me out and says, it's clear you're trying to manipulate Carol using the group. And that's not, I mean, the group forgave me, I guess, but man, I mean, I had to, like, whatever. But so that's separate from my notes. She quits a job, and she says she's irreplaceable. Then I talked to my wife about it. She says, okay, well, to find irreplaceable, why don't you try to find someone else? I hire someone named Paul. He's not great so far at his job in his first day. But Carol comes by to visit. She has a new job. She's very happy. And then we get interrupted by, like, another person that works on the floor, my friend, Jerry. We're going to go to a basketball game. And then I feel like a little bit like Jerry's trying to get me to drive to the game. He's also a little dismissive of Carol. Then we had group again, like, then the next group sessions, the next important thing is, like, Carol comes and shows up. And, Carol shares, and she says that she quit her job, and she was going to also go to school at night, and she realized it was too much, that she started a new job, and then she was going to start going to school to be a dental hygienist. And then the group starts making me share my feelings. It's clear, that I mishandled all of this. I mean, this is just what we worked through. I'm just giving the conclusions. And to make me apologize, to hear Carol's feelings, talk about my feelings, because I missed Carol and that I really did need her. And then I really wanted to see if I could get her back working for me. She was a valuable employee. And then we worked it out. And then I had to let Paul go, who I just hired. And the only other benefit was that Paul made really good coffee. And then I was very proud of the group and stuff like that. And I guess the resiliency of it without talking about, without hearing your thoughts about it. You know what I mean? Okay, I think this is interesting stuff. Let's see. Let's get into, let me just get my assistant over here. And my assistant was working while we were talking about your week. So I really think this is going to be good. The first thing that stuck out to me was that this Stephanie, that she can't sleep, and then she's hearing noises, and that she's very consumed with how she appears. And my assistant kind of said, with Freud, it could be this woman who can't sleep could be this aspect of yourself, something that's below the surface, troubled or unrested. The strange noises could be like internalized conflict, unresolved issues disturbing your peace. And the looks could be self-image or others' perceptions of you, especially under stress or duress. So I think that's interesting to think about with your group. Jungian interpretation, what about the noises as something part of your shadow self that are demanding attention? Though, it seems like you're really... Well, anyway, I don't want to judge your, but you were competing with Carol for attention this week, it seems like, and your wife in a non-judgmental way. The looks might be the visible effects of inner things going on or stuff that's manifesting. So I think about that, like your loss of Carol, your dream wife, your real wife. The fact that it seems like you have some old, outdated ideas about the workplace. Okay, the contemporary is kind of like external pressures that maybe need to be addressed. Maybe these old beliefs need to be addressed in a non-all-or-nothing way, because it's affecting your daily functioning. So I don't know, something I feel like maybe with your professional image and personal appearance, because Stephanie worked for you, but she wasn't doing a good job. And the sensitivity to noise, right? Just feels like there's some sensitivity and lack of sensitivity and sensitivity. Okay, go on. My assistant's now come up with some out of the left field ideas. So there's one for spiritual based beings that this could be have a significant experience. A woman, the noises, maybe there is something calling to you. Maybe there's a cultural aspect to it. My assistant suggested. I think there is here. You may be experiencing moral decay, my assistant said. Maybe you're ignoring deeper, metaphysical things going on. And then the technological part of noise and sleep, maybe there's digital noise in your life and your connectivity. No, it's not I don't know. I think you have to look at some practical solutions and you got to work on it. This seems like a pretty good time to talk about self-work. The next dream that's kind of stuck out to me was the quotes from the movies, that everybody was quoting movies, it seemed like. This, again, could be something hidden that you're not, that you say, oh, boy, I'm not so sure about that. And these quotes kind of represent memories because they're based on movies. Memories trying to disguise themselves and express themselves. Again, we could go back with Jung to your shadow archetype. Maybe there's something you're repressing. Maybe what's not working is you're trying to be this dominant old figure with old school ideas, but you're also repressing things at the same time. And then you're trying to repress these old ideas that are, they are outdated. I'm not just judging you. And instead of kind of replacing them or like moving to new ideas, more contemporary thing might be like your alien. Maybe this goes with it, this alienation of misunderstanding and of playing roles instead of being your true self or Carol being her true self. Let's see what else my assistant had to say. Some of the cultural thing, this might be that there being a cultural mirror to you, the people in your dream quoting the movies and stuff like that. And maybe somehow media has shaped your perceptions. I mean, that's something to think about, Bob. Like, how are you portraying your old ideas? Are they based on just cultural influences like from media? Or are you using it to reinforce your behavior? I don't know. I'm just throwing out ideas from my assistant. So please don't furrow your brow at me. Metaphysically, there's an interpretation. This is, could be symbolic language, maybe they're trying to use the quotes. Some part of you is using the language of cinema to get through to you. Maybe there's something archetypal about those movies with Carol Ann, Move to Light Carol Ann, or Dustbusters. They're not afraid of no dust. There's also the idea, my sister wants to point out, there's the virtual reality theory. If you have that even deep in your mind somewhere, that you're living in a scripted reality and everything's predetermined or lacks spontaneity. So maybe that's something deep in you, or maybe it's just like a lack of authenticity. Okay, the next dream, the thing is like that everyone else believes this is Scooby-Doo, like Scooby-Doo-esque, but you think it's rational. And that other people are believing in this mystical thing that you're not. Maybe that's this dismissive nature. Are you compelled to dismiss other people's ideas? Or is there something that others are more sensitive or open to that you're not? Like, are you being defensive on an unconscious level against something? Jungian might say maybe this is they're more tuned into the manifestations of the collective unconscious. But this is in a dream too, which makes it even more interesting. And these are shadow images of yourself or your psyche trying to interact with you. Now, the skeptical role you're playing, I don't know, that could be just your persona, your conscious identity. And it's at odds with this intuitive part of yourself or myth. And I mean, you don't really talk about mythical stuff. You don't have to, though. Maybe there's something isolating about your beliefs in the contemporary school. In your search for rational explanations, kind of your scientific and logical approach. I mean, and that's your professional role. So that makes sense. You do have a profession. Now, we're going to drop into some astrology. I mean, because I don't want to leave any stone unturned. So you have a Virgo sun sign, and that's also analytical and skeptical. And this could be like where you feel compelled to apply logic and skepticism in emotional situations. I mean, again, refractive, like it must be confusing, being a professional and having a life, because you're supposed to be grounded and practical. So maybe the dream is like you insisting on being that way, even when it doesn't work. There's also like this psychological idea from my assistant. Maybe the inn is like a spiritual place. And maybe that means you need to be more open to experiences beyond the empirical. I don't know. Maybe that's what happened with Carol. Like you said, maybe saying, hey, was there stuff I didn't pick up on? Was I not sensitive to something? because of this back and forth you're doing with these old ideas, right? Like the dichotomy in your dream, to quote my assistant, could be exploring a deeper philosophical existential questions, or maybe the ends of metaphor about societal or cultural issues that are invisible to some but evident to others, invisible to you in this case, and your group pointed that out. Now I want to talk about this woman that lives in your basement and is best friends with the basement, and she's like 300 years old, right? I know we covered this before, but maybe this is some knowledge that's down there, in that maybe it like comes from your family. I don't know. Maybe it's knowledge that was passed on to you. Maybe these old ideas aren't your old ideas, but like as we're seeing, maybe they're passed on to you and reinforced. Now it's time for you to move on. I mean, the Jungian, you do have to look at feminine mystique and power and how that's associated with your shadow self, particularly in this idea where it seems like you're resisting it in the daylight. And maybe this long-term presence meant these energies are long-standing yet unexplored, handed down through generations or some sort of collective unconscious event. But this is clearly like the basement is underlying. If we look at the contemporary view, maybe something you don't fully understand yet. And then my assistant points out the durability of the friendship between the woman and the basement. It's, again, a legacy within your psychological makeup that has shaped your thoughts or behaviors over time, long-standing familial or cultural beliefs. And again, maybe it's time to just move on and say, maybe that's what you did say when you said, I need you, Carol. Outside of the box ideas from my assistant, maybe this is like a spiritual guardian who wants to pass on spiritual wisdom, this woman in the basement, and she has secrets for you that are already within you. So maybe there's also this thing of the past from her that's not all bad. Maybe there's positive stuff that's passed on to you over time from family and culture. Could also be a symbol of rebellion. Maybe you want to rebel against the stuff that you never did rebel against. In a sense, Carol kind of did it for you. Said, hey, I can't deal with this anymore. There's energetic imprints. Maybe there's something imprinted at the end. Some sort of like psychic imprint on you. Let's see. We also had the idea of the plush, the guy that built the plush. This could be an attempt to create like a life. And this like in that sense, it could relate to outdated ideas, past achievements, and old aspect of your identity that you're trying to keep intact despite their relevance fading. I mean, my assistant wrote this before we talked about your week. And then the transformation of the fact that your current workplace used to be a place where plush was put together. It could be stagnation, lack of vitality, or dynamic. Like maybe you get like in your professional life, maybe in the Jungian, you're trying to freeze stuff in a childhood or some sort of past state, some sort of part of your professional or personal life is frozen in the past. And again, this is all from my assistant before we talked about your week. And, the fact that it's in your office in the dream, I mean, come on, Bob. Now, the contemporary look at it, maybe this is unproductive, disconnected. There's the idea of making plush, preserving childhood, or are you holding on to the past? And then there's like my out-of-box ideas from my assistant, maybe like plush as art versus preserving childhood. Some people may be making bespoke plush toys is an art form, in a creative expression, where other viewpoint might be that you're just trying to hold on to old childish ideas. And maybe both those could be true somehow. There's maybe an existential thing, my thing pointed out, that you're trying to make childhood last forever, but it could also be a philosophical inquiry into what parts of your professional life are genuinely alive. That's what my assistant said. There's also environmental psychology. Maybe this office space is a recreation of self. Like, is this in a fostering environment? Are you fostering, you know what I mean? Like, also the books flying off the shelf. That was another one. They could symbolize ideas or thoughts erupting into your unconscious. Freud says that you've been repressing or ignoring. And maybe this thing with Carol is this sudden realization. Or maybe something else. I don't know. I'm just, this is the first time we've done this. The idea of books, it could symbolize your mind and vast store of knowledge. But the conflict between that with the books flying, again, Jungian, maybe that they're symbolic of wisdom and learning, but the dynamic movement, maybe there's wisdom demanding to be noticed and integrated into your psyche. Library is psychic space, intellectual and spiritual realms, maybe. And chaos in this orderly environment might be a disruption. The contemporary thing, maybe there's too much information. Maybe you're trying to intellectualize things too much, and you're losing control. I mean, where you usually feel competent, especially in your professional life. I mean, maybe astrologically, Virgo sun, meticulousness, order, analysis. So the fact that books have been disrupted, maybe like your need for order versus some other challenge that's emerging. Mercury ruling Virgo. Now, Mercury governs communication and learning. And this could be a time, of like ups and downs. And then this is really out of the box stuff from my assistant. Quantum physics perspective, nonlinear dynamics. Maybe there's quantum ideas of uncertainty and the nonlinear nature of knowledge. Maybe you need to embrace a more fluid understanding of reality that isn't static but dynamic and evolving. Or books as cultural artifacts, a shift in understanding from long-held societal beliefs. I can't make this up. And that could prompt you to reconsider what cultural narratives you have accepted as truths, Bob. Again, I'm only reading what my assistant was working on while we were alone. Now, the typewriter typing on its own, unconscious thoughts, a lot of this is recycled. Now we're getting, and then the message it's sent to you, again, saying, hey, you got to get, change this old stuff. Autonomy of your deep unconscious, maybe Jung would say, versus your conscience will. Maybe the typewriter is a medium to say these messages are crucial insights. It's time to leave behind your outdated attitudes and situations that are hindering your individuation process. Escape from limiting belief or life patterns. Again, contemporary, maybe it's that you're overwhelmed. But the typewriter's independent, so maybe your life is out of your control. I mean, this is stuff I know, Bob. I'm glad you're just listening. Again, Virgo's in control. The typewriter on its own might be the sphere of chaos. Mercury ruling. Mercury's influence here suggests significant messages are coming through unexpected means. Maybe you need to rethink things. There's the idea of autonomous technology and singularity. Maybe the concepts of artificial intelligence and autonomy maybe just thinking about that. Could be cinematic again. Typewriters are also often in cinema, like symbolize things that make your heart go faster. So maybe it's something underlying you're worried about. And then the dream about you holding that thing, that seemed primal to my assistant. Maybe unsophisticated, nevertheless essential. But this is like one of those all or nothing things. And that you're using it to kind of say you're not afraid of any ghosts or whatever. I think that's what I heard. Maybe your subconscious efforts. Maybe it's a totem, my assistant said, from young. Earthiness, resourcefulness, maybe your, again, most basic instincts and innate wisdom. Your shadow self, or something you might find morally questionable. Kind of what you brought in here, though, Bob. I mean, really. Conventional wisdom might say this is how you deal with stuff in the waking life. Maybe it's time to do something more less orthodox. And, yeah, what's going on below the scenes? I can't see that, Virgos, you're really considered about the safety officer again, health. Maybe your sun sign is encouraging you to trust more in your primal instincts, but also less conventional methods. And, I don't have the current planetary transits on your chart, but maybe it's a heightened sensitivity. Then there's like how this is used in traditional tales, protective totem, kind of like Freud said, but maybe you have to look at some more ways of healing, like maybe even into the past where these old ideas are from, but also, hey, what are some old ways of healing that worked? There's also the idea of energetic shielding. I'm not familiar with it, my assistant seems to be. And that's like they maybe need an energy shield in your environment. And finally, I just want to cover the Scooby-Doo stuff where cosplaying as Scooby-Doo and reenacting Scooby-Doo. Freudian sense, return to childhood, simpler time when things were clearly all or nothing. Escape from the complexity of your current life. Then the act of dressing up or role-playing. Maybe you have to find different aspects to your personality. Maybe it's a manifestation of wish fulfillment. I don't know, like Jung may say, like acting out a Scooby-Doo episode, that like unveiling illusions, unmasking false identities, that's how those episodes tend to go. So could this be an unconscious drive to resolve mystery or uncertainty in your life? And, maybe you're exploring these different archetypes and characters within yourself. Hero, trickster, shadow. Maybe you need to integrate those in your conscious. Maybe there's something contemporary, like a group activity. It's a group reenactment, a desire for a community. And that goes to the group you were working with this week. Social interaction versus feelings of isolation. Maybe there's a problem-solving theme. Problem-solving and teamwork. Wow, my assistant is good, I think. The Virgo, there's detail-oriented tasks. The dream might be highlight your enjoyments. Maybe Mercury ruling Virgo, govern analytical theory. There's also nostalgia and cultural icons. Maybe there's familiar narratives that provide you comfort and escape from contemporary ones. So maybe you have to look at your past influences. Maybe there's role play and therapy in the group, how it's therapeutic. Maybe there's an unconscious recognition of the benefits. I think kind of that's it. I think that's pretty good, Bob. How you feeling? I feel like I need to get some sleep now after all that. Yeah, it'd probably be good to get some sleep, and you keep dreaming, Bob. Keep coming back, and we'll keep doing this. Sounds good, but I don't know. I may not. You sure your assistant had all that before? It did, because it's all your interpretation, Bob, and my interpretation together. So good night, Bob. Good night. I'll dream some more. Everybody, Scoots here. I'm tucking you in with tonight's sponsor, Helix. But I want you to picture me getting tucked in at night right now. I'm getting tucked into my Helix Dusk Luxe. It's listening to right in the other room. It's laying there, waiting for me to climb in at night. Tonight I'm going to get comfortable. I'm going to pull my covers up to my chinny chin. And yeah, I sleep on my side. I sleep on my stomach. And I love sleeping in my Helix. It's so comfortable. It fits the way I sleep. And I can see myself there. Oh, yeah. There you go on your side. You look so comfortable there, Scoots. And I didn't notice as I tuck you in. Good night, Scooty Poo. Talking about myself in the third person. But I've noticed in the 4+ years you've been sleeping in this Helix, your sleep is a lot better. And we look at this summer, and every time you go out of town, no matter how nice the bed is you're in, you don't get as good a sleep as in your Helix Dusk Luxe, do you? But most of all, you don't look forward to it. You don't have that reassurance. I know I'm comfortable in this mattress. I know whether I'm sleeping on my side or my stomach or I'm laying on my back, I'm going to feel the right amount of support and comfort. And the other thing is, I know if I recommend a Helix to somebody else, it's going to fit their needs because they're going to take that quiz at helixsleep.com/sleep, and they're going to get matched with a mattress based on how they like to sleep, their sleep preferences, their feel preferences. Or they could take it with their partner and find out what mattress is going to work for both of them. So don't miss out. Maybe you could picture yourself tucking yourself in not that long in the future. Look at how comfy old Scooty Poo is. Scooty Poo took that Helix quiz, got matched with the Helix Dusk, picked the Dusk Luxe. And Helix has so many different mattress models to choose from. So picture you taking that quiz, just 2 minutes, and then you can picture yourself tucked in, comfortable. I don't know, which mattress model do you get matched with? I'd love to hear about it. So take that quiz at helixsleep.com/sleep, because right now Helix is offering 20% off all mattress orders when you use our link. That's helixsleep.com/sleep. And let me know after you take the quiz. Which Helix model did you get matched with? And are you picturing yourself tucking yourself in? Oh boy, you look comfortable too. Good night, everybody.